What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on First Take, they're going to be talking about, is James Harden better than Michael Jordan? That's right. Is James Harden better than Michael Jordan? So let's see what they have to say about that.
Is James Harden better than Michael Jordan? Here's what Rockets GM Daryl Morey had to say on the 100 Thieves podcast this week. It's just factual that James Harden is a better scorer than Michael Jordan. You give James Harden the ball, and before you're giving up the ball, how many points do you generate? Which is how you should measure offense. James Harden is by far number one in NBA history. Guys.
So there's no way Daryl Morey believes that. There's no way he believes that James Harden is better than Michael Jordan, and I'll prove it too. So let's put Mr. Daryl's family in a life or death situation, and the only person that can save them is somebody that scores the most points, and it has to be between James Harden and Michael Jordan. Mind you, his family is in a life or death situation, and the only person to save them is the person that scores the most amount of points. Who do you think Mr. Daryl Morey is going to go for, James Harden or Michael Jordan? I think he's going to go with Michael Jordan all day, every day. All day, every day with Michael Jordan. So let's continue.
What's your reaction to this?
I mean, I wish I had a friend like that, I guess. Like, I feel like Morey loves James Harden more than my kids love me, and that's incredible. So, like, I emailed our stats and information people and was like, please, Daryl Morey is a smart guy, statistically driven. Please send me some stats to make this make sense. I still haven't gotten a response. Well, I don't think that it's possible to make this make sense.
Oh, you know, I know. Look, this is First Take, right? So normally what happens is Dominique's over here playing offense, and then all of a sudden I'm D'ing him up, right? I'm on the other side, right. I'm shadowing. But you're about to watch an alley-oop because we're about to dunk all over Daryl Morey together. This is going to be me lob it up, you throw it down. I will say this: the stats you're probably looking for. I think what Daryl Morey is relying on, Dominique, is essentially effective field goal percentage. I mean, James Harden does not get credit for how efficient he is. He right. really is. We think of him as a volume scorer. He's incredibly efficient. However, the idea that he's a better scorer than Michael Jordan is absolutely absurd. You just got on me about context, right? How about this context? Right. Michael Jordan played in the 90s and the 80s. The scoring in the NBA was in the 90s, and now right. it's average points per game is for offense is 111. And what more than that, the lack of the hand check, the physicality. Michael Jordan could shoot the three, he could shoot the two, he could get to the basket, he could do everything that James Harden did in an era when it was harder.
Right. And I
Yeah, and again, it just doesn't make sense that you would think that James Harden is better than Michael Jordan. There's just no way. So what was it? Game 1 against the Golden State Warriors this year in the playoffs. James Harden's opening go-to move was shoot the three, land 10 feet from where he first jumped off of, and look for the foul. That's his go-to move. Nothing else. Not looking for to make the three. Not looking for the layup. Not looking for the mid-range jumper. His go-to move was to jump up, shoot the three, and land into the defender that was 10 feet away. That's his opening move. He wasn't even worried about the shot. He was more worried about getting a foul versus actually making a shot. That's his go-to move in Game 1 against the Golden State Warriors. I've never seen Michael Jordan do anything like that when he was in the playoffs. I've never seen him do anything like that. His go-to moves was to make the shot first, and most of the time he did. And whatever happened after that, the foul, whatever, that's just the residue of that defender not being able to guard Michael Jordan. So to say that James Harden is any better or better than Michael Jordan is just out of control. It's absolutely out of control. So let's continue.
I think part of being a great scorer is not just necessarily how many points you score, but how versatile you are, which is why maybe I would entertain throwing Kevin Durant in this conversation, but not James Harden. James Harden is phenomenal as far as shooting threes and getting to the basket. I'm not sure that he has the plethora of moves, though he has some really interesting moves that some might argue are travels, and he draws fouls in ways that people don't like. I don't think that anyone could arguably say that he has the versatility on the offensive end of the court as Michael Jordan. And certainly if we go the old-fashioned way, it's just Jordan's just a better basketball player.
Yeah, and there's no way. There's no way that James Harden is better than Michael Jordan. And like I said, there's no way. So James Harden is going to be the primary ball handler for his team. So he's going to get to rock the most and be able to take the most amount of shots. So Michael Jordan was the primary, the number one player on his team, but he could definitely share the wealth with other players, with Kerr, with Pippen, and a couple other guys. So he wasn't the main guy, and he was still putting up massive numbers that would definitely take out James Harden. So it just doesn't make sense. And this is just an offense. Michael Jordan is above and beyond better than James Harden on offense. And we don't even want to talk about defense. You don't even want to talk about defense because Michael Jordan was going just as hard on offense, if not harder, than James Harden. And then guess what? He would go just as hard on defense on the other side of the court. And James Harden's not anywhere to be found to play defense. So, I mean, to bring up Michael Jordan and have him be in the same breath as James Harden, as who's better than who, it just doesn't make sense. It's a hollow argument. So let's continue.
In those times, Jordan put up, I mean, he had a higher points per game season at 87 than James Harden has ever had. He shot 42% from three a decade later. And by the way, back in those days, they only took like 13 threes a game, 16 threes a game. Now, last season, they took 32 threes a game. It's different.
Yeah, and can you imagine if Michael Jordan was actually shooting as many threes as they do today? How many points he would average? Are you kidding me? If he played today, you wouldn't be able to touch him when in the paint. He would be able to do pretty much whatever he wanted to do. And then if he was shooting about 15 threes a game, oh, man. Jordan would be the all-time leading scorer right now. It just doesn't make sense. So let's continue.
Boy, Michael Jordan would have lit up the modern NBA.